It's Justin Stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morgan coming to you from Love City of Atlanta, Georgia. And Eugene, we got some fireworks here at the Lakers game here, man. It wasn't really the game. It was after the game. Little LeBron James, Stephen A. fireworks here. Now, this is funny because like it's a casual conversation outside looking in. And when you listen to Stephen A. talk about it himself, he didn't even think people saw it. He didn't even know that it was a situation until he, I guess, the next morning or later on, he saw that people had gone viral. But I do think that it's worth mentioning a bigger point here. It's a bigger point at play here. And the bigger point at play is how off limits are your kids if your kids join your business. Okay, if your kids join your business. So if your kids, let's say that, remember when Steph Curry used to bring his kids into the press conference? I think it was Aisha, like his little kid. He bring her into the press conference, and then NBA players bring their kids to the press conference and stuff like that. If reporters just start roasting your child, then I get it. If they just start roasting your kid, calling them names and stuff like that, I get it. That was totally inappropriate. You should not be roasting these kids. You should keep the kids out of it. Let's talk about my points. But, and there's a huge but here, this is not an innocent victim situation. I do think Bronny's innocent victim, but from a LeBron standpoint, LeBron standpoint, not innocent victim. Bronny's just doing his thing. He's just living his kid life, going through the footsteps, or going through the footsteps of life. I don't even really blame the kid. I have nothing negative to say about the kid, to be honest with you.
No,
he's just kind of doing really what I feel like anybody would be doing. Like he's trying his hardest out there. He's playing. I have nothing bad to say about him. But when it comes to LeBron and when it comes to his kid being open for criticism, I believe that it's fair. It's fair because for one, your kid's not playing for free. Let's not forget that your kid's making millions of dollars to play the game of basketball. You're playing a game that's going to be critiqued by everybody. Everybody's going to see what you put up, right? Yeah. You're the one who said yourself that your kid was better than half of the players in the league. You said that yourself. I think he said that last year. You said that. When you open the door for all these things, do you want people just not to say nothing? Do people have to be quiet and just listen to everything you say about your kid and not say anything? It's not like your kid is playing JV somewhere for a charity league somewhere. He's playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. And they're a marquee franchise. There's a lot of people who would love to be playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. They can't because all the roster spots are taken, and your kid is taking one of the roster spots. I think it's fair to criticize anybody that's taking a roster spot on the team, to be honest with you. If you're taking a roster spot on the team, you're up for criticism, bro. That's how this goes. If you're taking a roster spot on the team, you're taking money from a team, you're up for criticism. You know what I mean? Maybe this is a personal situation because you never know that too. It could be a personal situation. It could have been a situation where he's like, we have beef. Maybe Stephen A. and LeBron, maybe LeBron's like, we have it, but this is between us type thing. Maybe he felt that because there was some unfinished business between the two of them, I guess. I don't know. That maybe he went a little bit harder on his son than he should have. Maybe he felt like it was between the two. And because that's how it kind of came out to me, like, you leave my son out of it. And like, out of what? I mean, I'm just but he's like, you leave my son out of it. Would have seen that there's some kind of beef and you leave my son out of it. Is what kind of how it comes off to me. But otherwise, if your kid is playing on the team and is making millions of dollars to do so, I believe that criticism is just a part of the game. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, yeah, and then plus, I mean, here's the thing too. Steven has a show to do every single day. You and I, we text throughout the week. Like, hey, what do you want? We text each other, kind of. We have a pretty good idea by the time we do a show what we want to talk about. So they gotta fill time, and what fills time more than anything? I mean, how many times let's just face it, you hate hearing about all the Lakers, all the Celtics, but they're a national brand. So if one of the guys on your team falls under a national brand, he's going to be subject to criticism, and it's just part of the game. I mean, and you're not doing any, like you said, you hit the nail on the head when you said that your son is better than half the players in the NBA. You're not doing your son any favors. I mean, if that was my kid,
you put the bullseye, right? Like you wrote a check that your son has got to cash.
Yeah, I mean, my kid would be like, "Oh no, Dad, please don't say that out loud." I
Right.
feel like
You
I'm
kidding me?
good.
Right. It's like a bullseye, man. You
Yeah,
already have the kid named LeBron James Jr., man. You already got that. You try to you're going with the Bronny to try to take the sting off the LeBron James Jr. That you put on him there. And it's interesting because some of this is just like you're being naturally parent situation, right? So
yeah, hmm
you have
yeah. You
natural
want to
parent
just pump the kid
energy.
up,
Right. So you're doing your natural parent thing, but the problem is that this is real business.
Yeah,
This isn't just like casual. This isn't just like us. We worked all life to try to make the team, just like your son worked all his life to try to make the team. Like we're out. We don't have a dad that can just say that I'm gonna come with you and you get to buy one get one. We don't have that kind of situation where that, because we all know that's what happened. If you think the Lakers would have drafted his son and not have had LeBron James on the team, you're crazy. Come on, they would not have.
right.
They would not have
Absolutely.
picked him. I don't even know if he would have got drafted at all. And if his name wasn't Bronny James, I'm almost certain of it that he would not have gotten drafted.
And I'm okay
So
with it. I'm fine with the son getting drafted. I have no issue with that. I have no issue.
yeah, because it is what
This
it is. I
happens in the
feel like
world,
a lot of people would
right?
do it. A lot of people would do
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean?
exactly. But then you're still open to criticism. Like, okay, I got you the job.
Even more so now, right? I
Right.
would think.
Right. I got you the job. Now, if you don't perform, you're kind of on your own. It's like, how many times have
Correct.
you just in the real world? How many times have you just gone out on like, hey, dude, I'll put a word in for you, but that's where I'm stopping. Like, I'll say
Right.
you did this, this,
That
this,
is the
but
favor right there.
right, that's the favor. If you don't perform, it's on you. Because I mean, I've done it for people in the past, but hey, this is it. I'm getting you to this point, but you're on your own once you get the job. And so
Right.
it's kind of
You
like
got
you
to
said. I
stay.
mean, Stephen A. Smith has to do his job, and if it's openly criticizing Barney for whatever reason, I mean that's Stephen A. Smith's job. He has to do that, and he's just and I get it. I mean, LeBron's being a dad. If it's my kid, any of our kids, like your kid was doing anything, we would do the same thing. So I don't fault either party, but I mean he has to understand like it's it was going to happen, but regardless whether you're in the
Your
link
son's not
LeBron
playing
or
for
outside.
free, man. I mean, that's
No,
all I get.
right?
Like you're not playing for a charity league. You're not playing for a hospital. You're not donating your winnings, like, or
No,
your salary. You're making money, millions,
yeah,
making $millions to play this game. And I don't understand that all of a sudden now you wouldn't be up for criticism. But I do
hmm
think that sometimes when the world kind of weighs in on situations like this, we don't really know all the details in the sense of like what Stephen A. and LeBron James relationship may be or lack of, or whatever that may be. So there's always something extra that could be on there. To us, it may look really obvious. Say, hey, your kid is up for criticism because he plays the game.
hmm
And LeBron might not have a problem with that. It strikes me. I don't think he would, to be honest with you. Like LeBron, the way he comes across, doesn't strike me as a guy that would have a problem necessarily with the criticism. Maybe he felt like it was too personal. Maybe he felt like it was
Yeah, I
going
think it's
left or
personal. Yes.
something.
hmm hmm
And then he felt some kind of way and stepped to him at the game. And Stephen A. on his show said that he could have called him or whatever. But it's interesting. Interesting to see, because you don't really get to see that moment a lot of times. A lot of times these moments are phone calls or tweets or Instagram DMs and stuff like that. Social media
Right.
DMs. You don't really get to see it all play out in front of us like we got to see it play out this time. But I do think that both parties, I don't really fault any party here, to be honest with you. As much
No.
as I think like LeBron, I don't agree with the sentiment of his son being above criticism, but I also don't know that that's exactly what he's saying either. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he never
Right.
came out and said my son is above criticism. He's never come out and said that. So
No, he's never come out. But yeah, and I mean, again, we're all trying to read lips, but it definitely does look like he said that. I mean, I've watched multiple
it
angles of
definitely
this.
with the I don't care. It's like keep my son
Yep.
out of it, but I don't know if
hmm
out of it
hmm
means out of personal beef or out of criticism. You see
hmm
what I'm saying? Like I'm
Right.
not sure
Right.
what the it is.
Exactly.
It is like, is it out of like, yo, keep my kid's name out of your mouth when you're mentioning me? That's two totally different situations. Then just don't talk about my kid has 9 points, 2 rebounds. Don't discuss it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
different.
Right.
Two different things. Two different things.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, what would be interesting is to see where this kind of goes from here. We're gonna change gears here. Let's go to some NFL, man. Let's talk here about some Shedeur Sanders, man. Talk some Shedeur Sanders because a lot of people at the combine during their interviews and stuff like that say the kid's kind of brash, arrogant. You know, you're getting a lot of those talks that come out now. Typically at the combine, this is something that you're kind of used to seeing, in my opinion. You're used to seeing guys talk down to other guys because they don't know. So they talk down guys. So they'll say stuff like, "Oh, well, the Wonderlic wasn't that great," or he wasn't really a great.
We've heard that one.
You know, he wasn't really. Didn't really seem too bright. He was kind of a little bit standoffish. He's like the things that teams say, and you never know if a team is just deflecting, that they're hoping to get you off the path because they want to draft. They want to draft a guy, which teams are not above that whatsoever. They've done it almost every year. Some teams going to try to throw somebody off the scent so that they can go and draft that player. So that's why these conversations are just so hard to listen to. Now, what is a little bit more definitive here, and I'm going to pull up Mel Kiper's list here. What is a little more definitive is Shedeur on a lot of mock drafts, I have definitely seen dropping out of that top 3-ish conversation. I think for a long time, he was in the top 2 for a long time conversation. People thought he's either going to go 1 or 2. It's going to be 1 or 2.
Right
now, I've seen it. Cam Ward being very sticky at the top of the board, and sometimes he's 1, sometimes he's 2. But Cam Ward seems to be very at the top of that board. A lot of times where I've seen Shedeur going between 5 and 10 on some of these draft boards, going between 5 and 10, which is still top 10. I don't see him dropping out of it. He hasn't dropped out of the top 10 on a lot of the mock drafts I see, but I definitely see drafts, and including the one we're looking at, even though this draft from a week or so ago, Mr. Mel Kiper draft could have changed in an hour. You know, this thing could already be totally different by now.
I mean, they're all going to change within minutes, right? Until the draft. I mean, don't.
He has Abdul Carter going 1, you know? Cam Ward going 2 to Miami, and Travis Hunter going 3 to New York Giants. Now, with Travis Hunter going 3 to the Giants is a travesty. I think that it's a travesty. Travis, I didn't even mean to do it that way, which came out like that, but it is a travesty. If it does happen that way, no pun intended. It's because players like Travis Hunter are nice to have players, man. They're nice to have. You get a guy like that, you could throw him in defense, offense, excellent football player. The problem with this is you don't have a signal caller. You don't have a quarterback. So
don't have anything there.
You could keep stacking these other positions if you want. If teams that stack positions that aren't the quarterback position, what it tells me is that you are building a team, but you have no interest in winning this year. Like if you decide not to get a quarterback, what you are telling the league and what you're telling your fan base is that we're punting on this year. We're going to keep building. We're going to build this year. We're going to keep building, but we decided that this year we're not participating.
Yeah,
that's what I see. But I see
teams that
decide
really
not to get quarterbacks.
Right, and it's a very weak quarterback draft. I mean, no offense to the guys there, but it is. It's not as strong as it was last year, and the free agent market is not good either. So, you have a great point. It's just like just get your needs. I think with this draft overall, you're just getting this is a needs draft. There's maybe 3 top chip guys, right? Blue chip guys at the top. That's it. After that, you're just filling in voids. That is what this draft is. So it'll be, I think what you're going to see, they're going to really focus on the stories when you watch the draft, because you're really going to have that more. I mean, they usually do a good job of that. I think you're going to see a lot more of that just because of the overall what it is this year. I mean, it's not a bad draft, but it's a lot of feel like the Falcons. The Falcons should just there's so many defensive guys on the board.
Let's see who they have the Falcons taking. Let's see. It's an edge rusher.
I keep seeing the edge from Tennessee. Is the one I keep seeing, which I would love.
They have 3. So they have Mike Green. They have from Marshall is where he has going now. That's at 15. We also have an edge rusher, Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. He has 3 edge rushers going in a row here on his mock draft from about a week ago. This is Cincinnati Bengals. Also, Mikael Williams from Georgia. That's 3 edge rushers at 15, 16, 17, with the top edge rusher being Abdul Carter.
Abdul Carter is the best. He's the best one. I mean, if you're going to, like you said, if you're Tennessee, you don't have a quarter. I mean, if you're not in love with those top quarterbacks, take the best guy. I mean, he's the best guy in the draft. But that's just bar none. If you're not happy with any quarterbacks, if you think Cam Ward, maybe, but I mean, again, it's between those three guys are your blue chip guys right there, right? The 1, 2, 3, and those are you got to talk yourself into one of those guys.
What you can't do, here's what you can't have happen. If you decide to take that, so let's say you decide to take that risk and you decide not to. Let's say Shedeur is there and you don't take him, because I think it's definitely more dangerous there. Here's where the seats start to get hot. You can't have a guy go off. You can't have him be good, man.
Oh,
you can't have him be good,
especially the Giants.
Especially you can't have him be good, bro. Like if he goes, like let's say that he starts. Let's say the team like the Giants doesn't take him. And let's say they do take a Travis Hunter and they're still going to be losing, because we always know like a quarterback and a cornerback and a wide receiver, even if you have the number one cornerback and the number one wide receiver, your wide receiver, you weren't suffering there. Neighbors didn't suck. You weren't suffering that wide receiver last year.
No,
you got still saw what happened there. You still saw what happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like you number one wide receiver, number one cornerback can be great for your team, but they're not going to get you over the hump.
No.
So what New York would need to do is they decide to go with Travis Hunter, because I think that given your point that if you don't love any of these quarterbacks, you go with somebody else. I can't knock that point, because if you don't love the quarterback, you want to go with somebody else, you do. Problem is the other side of the coin. First 2 or 3 games, if Shedeur comes out and he's putting up 250, 300 yards, you're going to get destroyed. When I tell you destroyed, if you're the Giants, you're really going to get destroyed. You're going to get destroyed. So you have to be ready for that. You got to be ready for that. If I decide to pass on a signal caller, the signal caller that I pass on cannot be good, man. He can't be good. You can't come out there and have that CJ Stroud year the first year. He's not going to be able to do that, because if he does that, they're going to look at you like, how did you not see this? You know how fans do, man. It's going to be, how did you not see? We watched this guy tear it up at Colorado. You decided not to take the guy. And now see what happens, you know? So I think it's the risk reward. A lot of people are scared of just passing on that position and then having it where that position actually goes off. That person goes off in a position, especially Eugene, if they don't solve it at themselves. So let's say they don't get a free agent, and let's say they run Danny DeVito or Tommy DeVito back out there again, okay? Let's say they run Tommy DeVito out there week 1. That's your starting.
No, he's Danny DeVito. Just call him Danny. Let's just
so you run Danny out there.
80-year-old Danny DeVito.
Because if you combine the name Danny Dimes and Tommy DeVito, you get that Danny DeVito there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you run him back. Let's say you run DeVito out there week 1. How is that inspiring your fan base? This is New York. You got to get a free agent. I don't think you can run. I don't think New York has the luxury of taking a Travis Hunter. He's too expensive. He's that luxury car. You're still living in a trailer park, man. He's that guy. You drive past the house, right? And you see that new Porsche out there, but it's parked in front of the trailer. You know, you're like, man, that's priorities aren't really all the way in order there, right? And that's what Travis Hunter, to me, going to the New York Giants would be. Like, your priorities are just not in order. You got a stud of a guy here. And I could see punting a year. Like, if you're the Giants and you're like, hey, we want to punt a year and kind of get another guy, I get that. But Eugene, they've sucked that quarterback for years, plural. Like, they've been sucked that quarterback. So you don't have the benefit of punting a year, because you're just adding to the other years you've sucked. Like, that's different for, like, if the Eagles decide to fall off, right? If Mahomes falls off, if those guys get years to fall off, right? They can fall off a year.
They can fall off. Your DM coach are safe.
Yeah, you who have not been good at quarterback in a long time and overpaid for your last one and still weren't good, don't have the luxury of falling off at the quarterback position.
No,
you don't have that luxury, man. And you're going to have to do something here, or they're going to have to. You know how I felt about Joe Schoen anyway. I don't call for a lot of people's job, but you already know how I felt about him coming back. I felt that was a crazy decision. It's being that the guy you let go just literally won a Super Bowl just now. And you cut the guy that you let him go for. Let's not act like they could not have kept Saquon. Let's remember the story. They cut him because they had to pay Daniel Jones. They cut him to pay Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones is not even on the team anymore. He's not even on the team. And the guy you cut just won a Super Bowl. It had 2,000 yards. So I don't know how the Giants can miss on this, man. Maybe they do like Mel says and take Travis Hunter here. But I just feel like you just got the table is stacked at that point, man. You really need a lot of things to go wrong and right.
Yeah, and they've already tipped their hands, right? They went after They went after Stafford, right? So they've tipped their hands. They're going for a quarterback, and then you have a GM and a coach on a hot seat. So I'd be shocked if they don't either try and maybe if they like Cam Ward, trade up to get Cam, or to take Shador. I mean, it's just like you said, you got to take a chance here. Or if you like Dart, I mean, those are your three guys.
Maybe
right
you
there.
take
But
Travis Hunter and then circle back to Dart, but it depends.
Yeah, maybe
what they're looking like there, because the thing is, if there was any way that you can humanly possible get Travis Hunter and the quarterback, I would try to take it. If I can get any of these three guys now, or any of the two, if I can get Carter and Hunter and try to also get a quarterback, like if I was able to, let's say I was able to get back into the draft or something like that, that's definitely the best way to go. Because I'm not saying that any quarterback will be better than Travis Hunter, like as a football player. I mean, these are top-notch players. You know, it's hard pressed to find a better football player than Travis Hunter. It's just going to be the fact that what affects winning in the NFL. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it's great. I mean, I think he's gonna. I mean, yes, I think he's better as a cornerback than wide receiver. But I mean, I wouldn't blame him to go wide receiver because that's where the money is.
Sure, wherever I'm going to get paid the most.
Where am I going to get paid the most? But I mean, you're right. I mean, he's your best athlete. But again, if you don't have either someone to throw to, or if the guy's going to be out there for 100 plays because your offense sucks, then you're just not doing
right. Guys living on the field,
right. If your offense is going out three and out, and it's just you're just putting him out there every play, you're not going to get the right sample size of what his talent level is. I mean, you're right. If I'm the Giants, I would take one of those guys, and I mean, I'm not all concerned of what the interview process with Sanders. I mean, we know his dad. I mean, his dad was legitimate. Literally, he went. I think it was the Giants, and the Giants gave him a playbook. He's like, "We need to learn his playbook." And he asked him, "Hey, where are you drafting?" I think they said like 10. He's like, "I'm not going to be around that long." So I mean,
he said, I'm not going to be there. He said, "I'm not going to be there."
So
and he wasn't there, by the way.
He wasn't there.
He was not.
When I heard about this, like you said, is a lot of smoke and mirrors. Because I mean, I like the kid. He's tough as nails. I mean, his arm strength isn't the best. I mean, his arm strength isn't the best, but he's tough. He can read. He goes through his progressions great on the field. Maybe he holds on the ball a little too long, but I mean, I think you can teach that in the NFL. You can't teach guys going through the progressions. We saw that with Anthony Richardson, right?
Correct.
So I mean, it's different. So
yes, you're seeing it with some of these guys, like the Anthony Richardson, Will Levises of the world, where guys fell in love with their physiques. They like the way these guys looked, but they haven't proved to have those intangibles. And what I like as an intangible, and you'll see it in players like Jay Daniel, like a stick figure when he came out of college, but he had something that I really liked, and that is accuracy. And as much as I necessarily didn't love Baker Mayfield, that's also something he had. He had accuracy. From what I've seen, that skill is one of in the NFL is it's extremely important. Like, it's not just the amount of yards you're putting up. It's not just the fact that you're throwing the football out of the stadium. Can you get it to them on time? Can you throw the ball with touch? Can you get it there? At 2 or 3 different levels. In an accurate fashion. Does your accuracy dramatically decrease if it's over 10 yards or under? So I think some of your best QBs are guys where their accuracy stays pretty consistent at multiple levels, like they at deep, intermediate, short, accurate. And this is what you see with players like Jay Daniels. So sometimes it's not about a guy that looks like he can bench press 300 pounds, or a guy that's like 6'7", looks like Adonis out here, right? But only can complete 50% of his passes. You get your little guys like Drew Brees come out here like 70%. Get him to the Hall of Fame. That accuracy got him to the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Drew Brees is not Anthony Richardson, bro. Drew Brees is not that physical specimen that a Cam Newton was, But that accuracy will get you there. And I do think that Shador has some of it. Me personally, I mentioned this. Shador is interesting to see. I didn't watch a lot of Cam Ward. I can't even really speak on Cam Ward like that, to be honest with you. I didn't watch a ton of them. But I did watch all the Shador's games. I watched all for the last 2 years. I've probably seen every game he played at Colorado.
Right.
And he's never seemed like the problem to me, man. He's never seemed like the problem. Did he seem like a kid at times? Yes. He's like he hold on to the ball a lot. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But that's the worst thing.
He's a human being. He's a human being.
Right.
Correct. Like there's some things you gotta have. You're getting a prospect here. Like you're not getting the perfect. We're not getting those. Like they love using Andrew Luck as a comp when you get that perfect prospect, you know. But we don't see these perfect prospects a lot of times. And a lot of times we think they're perfect. They're not necessarily perfect. So I'm not concerned with all of this negative Shedeur talk.
No, I'm not either. And plus, look at the three guys. What do they all have in common? They have starts under the belt. They've been in college multiple years. They've been battle tested. I mean, Sanders went to Jackson State, went to Colorado. I mean, his ego's already checked. You know, he's like he went to Jackson State. He's like I didn't go to like USC than Jackson. I mean, and that's where when you look at Anthony Richardson, didn't have a lot of starts. And I mean,
correct.
We can
Same thing with Trey Lance back in the day.
Right, Trey Lance
had a lot of starts.
And look, he's been they cut him in Dallas, but then look at Bo Nix. I mean, say what you want about
a lot of starts. Exactly the opposite.
Absolutely. Brock Purdy, Brock Purdy, a 5-year starter. I mean, you've got to. I mean, at some point that has to make. And Jaden Daniels, right? I mean,
a lot of starts. He would start Arizona and LSU and Arizona. I think for him.
So I don't know. Again, yes. Would you love for Sanders to have the rocket arm that Cam Ward has? Yes, but something about maybe it's the nerd in me and just loves the guy, the analytical guy. But I mean, I love Cam Ward too. I think he does have the rocket arm and he does have the starts. But I guess with Sanders, you're going to need the offensive line. That's bottom line. He's going to.
Oh my God! Yes,
you're going to need the offensive line
back there again. He is getting killed in Colorado.
He was getting. Right. So
I feel like they did better this past year than that first year, but it's rough. They're going to need him, and he's going to need to get rid of the ball.
Get rid of the ball faster, but again, you still need to give him some comfort to get rid of that ball. So, but I'm very interested to see where he goes and where Cam goes, and
I'm thinking top 5, right? I'm not kind of surprised if Shedeur drops out of top 5. That'll be surprising to me. We'll talk about the draft some more before the draft, but if he drops out of the top 5, that's going to be kind of strange for me. And also, let me also point this out. If you going, what do they want these kids to say? Long gone are the days where these kids have to come in here to these teams, hat in hand, asking for a job and telling them whatever they want to hear. Yeah. Because they're praying that this job they're going to be given this job that changes their life. These kids are coming in here millionaires now already. You know what I mean? So now the kids coming in here millionaires, they are making you prove what you're going to do for them just as much as what they're going to do for you. Maybe they're asking.
And what you should be that way. It should be that way.
You know what I mean? So it's like, welcome to the new world, right? Welcome to the new world of these kids coming in here millionaires, and now not having the same kind of deference that you feel they should have. You know, and I feel like that's going to be just a new NIL environment we're in. This is just the new world we're in, man. These kids are coming in, and you could have already made $10-15 million before you even made it into the NFL now. Like these kids that are coming in, that's going to be the new environment for them. So they're going to come in like, hey, the guy interviewing me, I have more money than you now, bro. The person that's interviewing, if you're not the owner, there's a good chance the person interviewing me, the scout or whoever you sent to interview me, bro.
Right.
I'm killing you. Yeah. I'm killing you, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah, so how do you think I feel even talking to you? So I'll have some deference. I'm going to have some deference, but I don't think it's going to be the same. I do think there is situations where you don't want an asshole in there, right? You don't want a jerk in there. But necessarily the hat in hand, please give me a job energy. I don't think you're going to see that anymore.
Right. If you're if you're that first or third round, you kind of have more leverage than you did in the past. It's the 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th rounds. Maybe they have to kind of do more of that. But Sanders is going to be in the top. He's going to be in the first round. And it just depends on where he goes. But yeah, he's going to go in the first round. He's going to be and have that 5th-year option. So, and here's the thing. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. So there's a lot of teams that got to talk themselves into
top 5 status, bro. Top 5, right? Absolutely. There's no way.
Absolutely.
No way he drops out of the top 5.
I would be surprised. It really would be.
Let's talk about your boy here. You know, it's funny. You sent me this post, and I noticed that it's in like Spanish or something. It's like an Instagram post that you sent me. It's about Kirk Cousins. And I was looking at it. I was like, wait a second. Is that like Spanish? Is my Instagram in Spanish? Kirk Cousins wants out of Atlanta, according to Albert Breer. He says QB Kirk Cousins asked for and got a meeting with Falcons owner Arthur Blank on his future. Blank and Cousins had that meeting Wednesday night. The QB wants to go to a place where he can start in 2025. The Falcons brass has said it do what's best for the team at QB. Now, what's interesting here, I was doing another sports show on Wednesday night, and I said this exact thing, so I feel very vindicated here because I said this exact thing. I was like, he's going to want a starting job, and I think that there's a couple of things that dictate that. For one, he passed for over 3,000 yards, I want to say, last year. Didn't even play all the games. He was coming off of the, what is it, an ACL? Something like that.
Achilles injury.
Achilles, yeah, pretty serious injuries coming off. First year off of a pretty serious injury. And you just got to get control of the turnover situation. You got, and he's not necessarily shown to be prone to that. So we'll see. I don't know if that's a new Kirk Cousins, because I don't know if he could survive another year with that many fumbles and that many interceptions. I'm not sure if he could survive another year like that. But I do think that he can get a starting job, though. I think Kirk Cousins, to me, there aren't 32 better quarterbacks than Kirk Cousins right now. If you look at even what his numbers were last year, there aren't 32 better quarterbacks than him. So how can he not? Like, you know what I mean? How are some of these other guys getting starts and you're just not starting Kirk Cousins? So this is something to me that I saw coming. What would have been way more surprising to me would have been him sitting as a backup. Would have been shocking to me because I don't know why he would have did it, and I'm not sure why the team would have done it. It doesn't seem like that would have worked for anybody.
No.
What's your thoughts
on that? You don't hand the keys to Penix and go, by the way, the guy we gave $50 million to, he's gonna be your backup. Don't worry about it.
Right. He's still in the car with you, man. Like you're hitting the keys, but he's in a car with you. He's riding.
Right. And especially there's so many teams that need quarterbacks. Now it'd be up to him. Is he going to be nice to waive his no trade clause to go to another team?
He's going to waive it. He's definitely
is it?
Because otherwise he wants to. You can't say that you want to go to another team and not waive your no trade clause. Like once you say yourself that you want to go to another team, that's true. And I think that there's a decision you said, right? You were saying as in March, we had another week or so here.
Another week.
Okay,
right?
So roughly about, a little bit over a week, we're going to have to make a decision on that. And I think that he's going to go. Kirk Cousins, in my humble opinion, will be starting for another football team next year. I just don't know which team it'll be. But he's going to be starting, whether it's the Giants, whether it's a team like that. He's going to be just same kind of move that Seattle kind of made to or the Raiders kind of made, where Geno Smith goes to the Raiders, something like that. He's gonna be a bridge guy, man. He could play for a couple of years or so somewhere. Give him that shot in the arm,
right? And then you trade him. You get to the luxury of like, okay, how much of the? Well, here's the thing: how much of the salaries are the Falcons picking up? I think that'll be part of it, right?
It's a big part of it, and I think we're going to be on a hook for a big part of it.
Right, and that might be teams gamble. It's like, well, if you cut them, we'll just wait and pay the minimum because we know you got to pay them.
Absolutely, what I would do, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not. If I'm a team, I'm just going to wait you out. But it does. I think teams will get antsy if people start, if they start having phone calls and talks really start to heat up. I do think that teams will then start to throw their if they think they might miss them, they'll get off those hands. But if I'm a team, I need to see other teams calling or at least showing some interest before I'm going to show interest, because we might all be waiting for the same thing. We might all be waiting for the cut. Actually.
Right, exactly, and that's a good thing in Atlanta's favor. This with the draft not being so, like last year we would have had that prayer, right, with all the quarterbacks coming out. This year, there's he could be a bridge quarterback, like you're saying. He might be able to start in a couple more years, but this is a good year. This is a good position for the Falcons to be in, because they might. I don't think we're getting a 1 to 3 round for him, but maybe we squeeze a 4th rounder from somebody. Maybe we get a 5th rounder, for our troubles. But I think you might see some desperate teams throw in some better draft compensation.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And if I'm a team, I take the flyer. He's not terrible. It's not like you're not looking at Zach Wilson type numbers and thinking of a guy that's just floating around that is going to be a backup as soon as he loses his starting job. That's Kirk Cousins, in my opinion, has not shown to be a backup quarterback yet. He has not shown backup quarterback energy. So, and he did, let's not forget that he did beat the Eagles. The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Let's not forget that we did go out and beat them in Philly. I want to say we won that game in Philly too. An impressive win. So it's not to say that he doesn't have it in him. Like you can go out there and get some W's for you. It just didn't work out down here. And I feel like what didn't work out down here is not necessarily Cousins, it's Penix being here is why Cousins didn't work out down here. Like if Penix was not waiting in the wings, they wouldn't have been so eager to make the change to a random guy. Let's say Desmond Ritter's was a guy. Desmond Ritter's our second guy. I don't think that change ever gets made this year.
No,
we would have stuck it out with Cousins. We would have stuck it out with Cousins. I think that the biggest issue with this whole Kirk Cousins debacle started when we took Michael Penix at 8. When we took Michael Penix at 8, little did we know, it started right then. That's when it started.
Yeah, and he even said he was shocked. No one kind of gave him a heads up about.
I don't think he would have came. He wouldn't have came. I don't think he would have came. I honestly am of the opinion that Cousins would not have came to Atlanta if he knew they were going to draft a young quarterback. What people tend to forget is that Kirk Cousins, there was a Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. At that time, Cousins had his pick of the litter. Like Cousins was being chased by multiple teams. Multiple teams. He chose to come to Atlanta, and then we drafted a quarterback. He left. One of the reasons he left was he felt there was other young quarterbacks coming up and stuff like. He didn't want to be in a young quarterback rebuild situation, right? And that's exactly what he landed in when he got to Atlanta. Now, in Atlanta's defense, if they knew Michael Penix would have been there, they would have never. I don't think they would have signed Kirk Cousins. This is a bold situation. This is a situation where I feel like each party would not have been with either one. Like Atlanta would not have paid Kirk Cousins if they had known Michael Penix was going to be there to draft, and Kirk Cousins would probably not have came to Atlanta if he knew Mike Penix they were going to draft a quarterback with their 8th pick overall.
No, you know? I mean it's different if they did like let's say they did it. Let's just say for all intents and purposes, like Penix was available this year. We gotta have the same record, and then it makes sense, right? I mean, sorry, this coming year, right? And then it makes sense, right? He's going to year 2 of the contract. And Cousins like, you know what? That makes sense. They're taking their young quarterback. I'm only here kind of another year.
He was only there if he would have only had a 2-year contract. So he would have been there for like your second year.
Absolutely. Right. So you're right. And so again, it'd be interesting to see where he goes because there are a lot of teams that need quarterbacks that can't draft. They're out of that draft window. And so we'll have to see where he goes.
That is the last word here. This is Just a Stats. Check us out, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. See you next time.